Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Greg Tilford, and welcome to Herbs for Pets, what they do, how they are used, and their safety. Let's get started. So what about all these herbs? I mean, everywhere you look, there's herbal products. They're in all of our stores, they're in our foods, they're being used for medicine, they're being used all over the world, and they still stand as the number one primary source of medicine among humans in the world. So why? What are they all about? Are they safe? Are they special? Do they cure everything? Let's talk about herbs and how we can use these in companion animals. First of all, herbs are nothing new. They've been the primary choice of medicine in animals for thousands, perhaps millions of years. Wild animals have an instinctive ability to properly select and dose the medicinal plants they need, and they even know how to stop self-administration. This behavior has been well recorded, called zoopharmacognosy. It's amazing what animals can do. Humankind's first introduction to internal and external medications likely came from observation of animals in the wild, in nature. It's not hard to see. Aboriginal people sent people out to observe the animals and bring back information on how animals were utilizing plants. In my experiences, having lived off the grid, without power, water in the mountains of Montana in the United States for 10 years, I had the opportunity to watch animals utilize plants this way many times. Oftentimes it would be deer, elk, or bear cruising through, literally on their way to what they normally forage on, only to stop and eat some plant that is practically impalatable, just a few nibbles at a time, and then move on to what they normally eat and how they normally behave. This is zoopharmacognosy. This is animals intuitively selecting the systemic support that they need from nature. However, unlike wild animals, domesticated animals like our dogs and cats lack much of the self-medicating instinct of their ancestors, nor do they have adequate access to natural sources. So instead, they depend upon us to find and bring their choice of medicine to them. So before we continue, let me break some skepticism. You see, I spend a lot of time lecturing, and a lot of that time lecturing has been to doctors, veterinarians, people of academia, who often come into my audiences for the first time hearing about the use of botanical medicine in animals, very skeptical, sitting like this. Dead silent. You can hear a pin drop in the room, but really what I hear is them screaming inside their heads, oh my God, I hope I get my continuing education credit, because what am I here for? Who is this guy, this lunatic herbalist from on top of a mountain speaking about voodoo? Well, folks, it's not voodoo. In fact, it's not something that's unfamiliar at all. Western herbs allow the user to explore natural healing from a familiar scientific perspective, because many of the pharmacological principles of plants are similar, if not identical, to those which comprise pharmaceutical drugs. In fact, upwards of 40% of all the pharmaceutical devices in the world are derived from some botanical premise, something we discovered in the rainforest or somewhere in a plant, a chemical, an energy, an ability of the plant that we're able to extrapolate and make a human medicine from, a drug. Sometimes those drugs are directly derived from plants, such as digoxin, a very powerful and important cardiac drug that's derived from the foxglove plant, digitalis foxglove plant. Very important drug. There are several in the nightshade family that are used directly, the chemistries are used directly for cardiac purposes. So they're nothing new, even to the skeptic. We're just utilizing these plant compounds in their whole form. In the world of herbalists, the saying is, the whole plant is always greater than the sum of its parts. And we embrace that because there's these synergies that most of science kind of leaves behind that are inexplicable, that work together in a plant. It's like the intent of the plant is a certain way until we mess with it and make a drug. But anyway, what we're talking about here with herbal medicines for animals, for pets, dogs, and cats, is we're looking at a representation of the whole plant's chemistry. So what is the role of herbs in the daily care of animals? First of all, unlike most conventional drugs, herbs are best used to support the body's natural systems of health maintenance, not to suppress symptoms of disease, not to bypass anything, not to shut anything down, but to support the body in what it's naturally designed to do for itself. Various herbs are employed to stimulate and support various systems of the body into working more effectively. That's all it's about, folks. Tonic herbs is what I'm talking about here. Tonic, a loose translation or definition of tonic, means to strengthen. Tonic herbs are those which strengthen and support normal processes within or on the body. They're not shutting it down, they're not replacing anything, they're just supporting what the body's naturally designed and trying to do. Let me give you a couple examples. A lot of us have heard of milk thistle. The parts used are the unripe seeds, or the ripe seeds, I'm sorry. The actions are tonic, nutritive, cholagogue, demulcent, but I know those are big words, but basically they support the liver, they add a margin of healing relief wherever they come in contact, and they stimulate reproduction of liver cells in a very unique way. This is very well validated by science. The way we discovered the hepatoprotective, the liver protective properties of milk thistle seed was from Amanita mushroom poisoning, and empirical data from Aboriginal uses, no doubt, that the seeds were used to antidote poison mushrooms, Amanita deathcap mushroom poisoning. Modern science took a look at that, and sure enough, milk thistle and a group of constituents actively or collectively known as silymarin stimulate reproduction of healthy liver cells while also protecting liver cells by making them less pervious to various toxins that would otherwise destroy the liver. So there's some validation right there. Milk thistle's antioxidant. In other words, it protects liver cells from various damaging toxins. Dandelion's another one. I mean, I love dandelions. I mean, oftentimes people come to me and they'll sit in my classes and they'll go, Greg, you've been all over the world, you've studied all these different plants and all these amazing medicines, and tell us what your favorite herb is. Is it something from deep in the Amazon or on top of a mountain in Peru, or what is it, Greg? What is it? And they wait in bated anticipation, and I tell them, it's dandelions, you know. Hate to disappoint, but I love dandelions. Every part of the plant's useful. The parts primarily used are the roots and the leaves. The actions, they're diuretic. In fact, in early, like the 17th century, it was known as piss in bed herb because if you drank enough of the tea, it had such a strong diuretic effect before you went to bed. If you went to bed after drinking it, you'd end up with a wet bed, pee in bed herb. Since then, it's been shown in some studies to be as effective, if not more effective, than the diuretic drug furosemide, not just because of its action on producing diuresis and stimulating urination, but because it's high in potassium and it replaces a lot of the potassium in salts that are normally lost and have to be replaced by when the drug alternative is used. So it's pretty remarkable there. Anti-rheumatic means that it helps clear the body of various toxins so that would otherwise contribute to arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, and it's an amazing cleansing detox herb. It gently stimulates normal liver function, probably the most overworked organ in the body, which is why you'll find it in many of my formulas, because it's very important to get the system to clean out. If there's too much excess metabolic waste floating around in the bloodstream, you're going to end up with inflammation. You're going to end up with disease, you're going to end up with things like arthritis, cancer, and the list goes down the line. So we want to keep the body clean, and dandelion really helps do that in a very safe, effective fashion. It's a very reliable detoxification herb, like I said. And the roots, you know, every part of it. The leaves for strong diuretic, the roots for liver problems and rheumatoid conditions. Here's another one. I love nettle. Nettle dioica. This is a plant, I don't know if you've seen this, you probably have. It's pretty much all over the world. Also known as stinging nettle. I always tell my audiences, if you haven't introduced yourself to this plant, eventually it will introduce itself to you if you're spending time in its habitat, because it's got these little hairs on the underside of the leaves and along the stems, tiny little clear needles really, that are full of formic acid, the same stuff that red ants have, that put in their bite, under pressure. So when you brush against the stuff, this protein constituent, this formic acid, stings you immediately and causes an urtica rash. Fortunately, it reverses itself very quickly. It's a very short-lived toxin, and it is totally rendered useless once the plant is dried or cooked. So it makes for a wonderful medicine. It's very rich in vitamins and minerals. This stuff is a superfood. It's easily and completely assimilated by the body. It supports the immune system, stimulates the immune system, feeds microflora. It contains a histamine compound that may help slow and moderate the body's own release of histamine, meaning that during hay fever season or in the presence of allergies, skin allergies, and various other issues in animals, this will actually help the body slow the histamine release down, thereby reducing itchy, watery eyes and a lot of the allergy symptoms. Right at the top of my list for allergy medicine, but just as an example, it's just supporting what the body is trying to do for itself. Here's a golden rule to remember about as you consider the use of herbal medicines. For herbs to work at their optimum best, the body must be provided with the tools, fuels, and energies needed to support the body systems they are asked to act upon. You know, there's all these studies around about an herb called Echinacea purpurea, this beautiful purple coneflower that's been in commerce for decades now and touted as the antiviral, cold and flu herb of the century, right? It's supposed to stimulate the body's immune system, stimulate the production of killer T cells and various other components of the immune system in presence of viral or bacterial infections so the body can fight those infections more effectively. But here's the catch. We see all these studies that are contradicting each other. Some say that it works, some say that it doesn't. But what isn't taken into account is that echinacea can only work upon an intact immune system. If the immune system is already dysfunctional, it can't replace the immune system. It can only stimulate the immune system. And if you're eating a bunch of garbage food and, you know, a bag of candy for dinner every day, you can't expect too much in terms of taking these of any kind of immune or systemic support. The body must be properly fed. Good food is absolutely mandatory for any of this stuff to work. The body has to be given the opportunity and the tools to heal itself. So are herbs safe? That's a loaded question. This could be another 2 hours. Yes, they are. They can be used very safely within certain parameters. Let's put things into perspective here. First, it's important to remember that toxicity is generally relative to dose. Virtually anything that goes into the mouth, anything in nature really, carries the potential of being toxic. Here's some examples. Too much chocolate will make us sick. Okay. I haven't gotten there yet. I keep trying. I get a little nausea, but I haven't made myself super sick on chocolate. I'll keep trying on that one. Believe me, I will. Consumption of huge daily amounts of spinach. Yep, good old healthy spinach. Say if you ate 2 to 3 kilos per day for a human, may lead to urinary stones because the oxalates contained in the vegetable might bind with various minerals in the urine and cause stones and problems in the urinary tract. But you'd have to eat a lot of spinach. Same for our animals in that case. Continuous feeding of too much garlic. And I almost hate to bring up garlic because it's still a controversial subject in veterinary herbal medicine to a degree, especially with consumers who don't know this. Too much garlic can lead to serious form of acute hemolytic disease called Heinz body anemia, where red blood cells become deformed temporarily and can't transport oxygen effectively. Very serious. But to give you a perspective on how this works is you'd have to feed a dog, an average, say, 20-kilo dog, you'd probably have to feed 2 or 3 whole onions or a head of garlic raw every day, despite any protest that the dog might have, for several days, and you'd have to ignore all of the other side effects, vomiting, gas, all these other issues that you would undoubtedly see to reach a level of toxicity. Then as soon as you stop feeding, the body will reverse itself and correct itself in 99.5% or something of the cases. The point is that it's very safe as long as it's used in small dose measures. It's very healthful. It's a very good antioxidant. It's got immune stimulating properties. It helps keep blood structure in good shape. And it's also got anti-parasitic properties that help keep tapeworms in check if a small pinch of the powder is added to the food every day. In fact, here in the United States, garlic is probably in the top 5 of animal herbs of commerce right now. It's used all the time in horses, dogs, cats, despite the fact that it's listed on some of the toxicology sites as toxic because they're only looking at one constituent or group of constituents of the plant and not the whole plant, nor necessarily the way it's used. So again, common sense rules here. More is not necessarily better. You don't always need more anyway. Some herbs are quite powerful and require added caution, while others may not be suitable for certain animals. Some examples here would be nutmeg and parsley seeds. They both contain a compound called myristicin, which is toxic to cats, specifically liver toxic and brain toxic, neurotoxic to cats. You don't want to use those. Willow bark also has to be avoided in cats because it contains appreciable amounts of salicylic acid. There's a few others, but this is where it becomes important to make sure that the people that you're buying your herbal supplements for animals from know what they're doing, and they know what the sensitivities, the limits, and nuances of the animals they're serving are. Very important. You stay within those guidelines, and they're going to be pretty darn safe. In fact, generally speaking, herbs are much safer than most of, in fact, almost all over-the-counter drugs. They're about as safe as food. Hawthorn berry is another one, a cardiotonic. It's as safe as eating raspberries for you, me, our dogs, and our cats. So which products and preparations are best? Here are some points to consider. Dogs, cats, and other carnivores are limited in their ability to digest plants and therefore have difficulty utilizing some of the active constituents of herbs. Therefore, liquid preparations such as tinctures, which would be, the tincture is basically herb material that has been extracted into a solvent, such as alcohol or vegetable glycerin or vinegar or honey or something like that. The constituents of the plant, at least part of them, depending on which solvent is used, is extracted into that liquid in a concentrated form that can then be applied by mouth or to the skin or however it's being applied. They're much more available, bioavailable to the body than whole herbs and powders are, which is why they are my forte for use in animals. They're more quickly and freely absorbed, especially when they're applied on an empty stomach. Most animals despise the taste and sensation of alcohol in their mouths, however. Alcohol is probably, well, it is. It's the most widely used solvent in the world of herbal tincture manufacturers. That includes the human side of things. It's pretty extensive because it's a very superior, very good solvent. It pulls everything out of the plant, most everything. But it doesn't taste good, and it's got that dehydrating, immediately oxidizing sensation in the mouth that makes it just repulsive to most animals. Therefore, tincture formulas that utilize vegetable glycerin as the base solvent are much easier to administer. Why? Well, vegetable glycerin, the kind that I'm familiar with and the stuff I use, is derived from palm oil or coconut. And it's about as sweet and has the consistency of pancake syrup or light corn syrup. Very sweet, very viscous, water soluble. The beauty of it is even though it's this sweet, it does not have any effect whatsoever on blood sugar levels. It's not metabolized as a sugar at all. It's metabolized more like a triglyceride. So it's safe even in diabetic animals, and it's much, much easier to feed to an otherwise unwilling dog or, heaven forbid, a cat. I love cats, but they can be a challenge. So find and use herbal formulas that are made by experts that know what they're doing. It's pretty simple. There's a lot of stuff in the human market, and a lot of it can be extrapolated to use in pets if you know what you're doing. But also keep in mind that if there's a problem with one of these animal botanical products that you access, you've got somebody to call that knows the specifics of what's going on with your pet. They already know. If you call somebody if you're using a human manufactured, something manufactured for humans, then it's going to be difficult to get answers about something that's wrong or isn't working right with your cat. So buy products that are intended for use in animals. How do you find quality pet supplements, including herbal supplements? First, look for manufacturers that specialize only in formulations for pets, as I mentioned. Look for the NASC seal. This is the National Animal Supplement Council of the United States. I know many of us are marketing into the UK now and into the European Union. This is a trade organization of stakeholders in the natural pet supplements market here. About 90% of companies, reputable companies in the United States, are now carrying this seal. And in order to put this seal on a product, we have to undergo and we have to establish and undergo a very, very stringent quality control system. We're audited in-house, and all of our records, all of our facility, all of our methods are audited every 2 years by the National Animal Supplement Council to the same standards basically as the drug industry in the United States. So people that have this on their label, the companies that have this on their label, are doing something about really making sure that they're putting quality behind their brand. Look for NASC on product labels. And look for well-established manufacturers. There's a lot of people jumping on the gravy train, folks, or jumping on the bandwagon, with the latest panacea. And, CBD products are included in that. CBD is an amazing thing. Hemp, cannabis is an amazing herbal medicine. It's got a lot of potential, a lot of use, but it's not a cure-all. It doesn't do everything. Look for and demand transparency from the manufacturers that you buy from. Ask them questions. How do you do your process? Are you inspected? Where does your herb come from? Where do you buy your herbs? Who tests them for purity, for identity, for all these different things? Ask them. If they don't give you answers or they're reluctant, move on. There's plenty of other manufacturers out there. Insist that everything that goes into the products you buy or sell are human suitable or human grade ingredients. There's a lot of junk out there that's being sold through the supply chain as pet grade. Some of the pet grade stuff's pretty good, but some of it's really bad. Some of it comes off of floors along with everything else that was on the floor of companies that manufacture or process ingredients for the human industry. That's just one example. If it's not suitable for your own consumption, don't buy it for your pets or your clients' pets. Make sure that it's human grade. Find companies with experts standing behind whatever they sell. People that know what they're doing. Companies that develop the formula because they have bodies of experts or an expert behind them in the process. Again, be wary of companies that can't tell you who formulated their products. There's a lot of third-party vendors, there's a lot of contract manufacturing out there, but even those guys should be transparent to the source, not only of the material itself, but the expertise that went into making the products that you're buying. Avoid manufacturers that are marketing their supplements as cure-alls. I can't overstate that enough. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Again, I'm Greg Tilford. Please send me your email if you'd like to attend future webinars, because we're just getting started here. I will be doing many more. I'm setting up a whole series of educational webinars on botanical veterinary medicines for you. And your questions and comments are welcome too, and will be addressed as soon as we possibly can. In the lower right hand of your screen, you'll find a few different numbers and addresses. www.animalessentials.com will land you straight into the parent company's website here in the United States, in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm in Ashland, Oregon right now. You can call us or email at info@animalessentials.com. We also have a footprint moving into the UK and Europe. Look us up on www.animalessentials.eu. And I really look forward to hearing from you, and I wish the best for all of you. Thank you again for attending. Bye-bye.